As a first-time home buyer, you want to make sure you're really protecting your resale value. So there are a few things I want you to look out for, and I want you to avoid homes like this. My name is Shaheedah Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. The first one is avoiding homes in neighborhoods with too many renters. You want to make sure the majority of the neighborhood is really invested in the neighborhood. They really care about the neighborhood. They want to keep it up because they know if they keep up the entire neighborhood, especially their home value, remain steady and will go up. When you have renters or too many renters, every neighborhood is going to have a few renters. But if you have too many renters, they generally they're not as invested as homeowners. So things that like just the general upkeep of the home may not be kept up. Even if you're in an HOA, the owner of that home is usually not close to the property. They're not seeing things. They may not be maintaining it as they should. And the renter may feel, well, I'm paying rent and it includes maybe, yard maintenance and other types of maintenance, and they don't feel obligated to keep it up. So just be mindful of homes with too many renters. It can start to have the neighborhood go down. So you want to just make sure. Now, your agent can help you figure this out because they have programs that will tell them the percentage of owner occupants, but you have to ask for it. This is not anything that an agent is going to tell you for every neighborhood. You would have to ask for it because they don't want to be accused of steering you out of certain neighborhoods. But if this is something that you ask for, they should be able to help you find it. And I would say 10 to 20%, that's probably going to be the maximum you want to look for. Anything higher than that, you may find that neighborhood is not kept as well, but it may vary by area and city and that sort of thing. Depending on how densely populated a neighborhood is, they may have more renters than others. But just be mindful of that. Number 2, townhomes and condos that are not FHA eligible. So if you are looking for a townhome or a condo, you may find that some of them, even if you're doing a conventional loan, you may find that some of them are not FHA eligible or FHA approved. And generally speaking, FHA does not approve doing mortgages in areas where they feel like the financing of that condo is not, it hasn't been kept up, or it may be behind on funds, or again, there's too many renters in that particular condo or townhome. So you want to make sure that you're not buying into something that potentially, when it's time for you to sell, you're going to limit the amount of people that can buy that property. So just be mindful because sometimes, it might be a really nice condo, a really nice townhome, but if it's not FHA eligible, that should be a red flag for you to really consider that and do your research before you potentially buy in that neighborhood. Number 3, homes with slopes in the backyard or slopes in the front, and they could be up slopes or down slopes. You'll find this a lot of times in backyards. They may have a little bit of flat and then it slopes down, or they might have a little bit of flat backyard, then it slopes up. This is a real deterrent to people that want a yard. And then sometimes you may have drainage issues with that. And they usually stay on the market more than most because you want, and in general, this video, you want to make sure that you're buying a property that is attractive to the highest, the largest pool of buyers in the future. So when you're ready to sell, you'll have a lot of opportunities. And a lot of people do want a yard. Even if you don't really care about the yard, maybe you're not an outside person, you want at least a little bit of a yard. And flat is best for the most part because people have more, they can do more with a flat yard than they can with a slope. And so when people are buying a home, I know when I'm working with my buyers, they are really deterred by slopes. And a lot of times when you look at pictures online of homes, the agents will not show that it slopes up or down because they know that's a potential deterrent to buyers. So if you're seeing that, the house looks great, but they don't show you much of the backyard, there may be something going on with that yard. And slopes can happen in the front of a home too, where you have really deep driveways and that sort of thing, just be mindful of those. Those are things that are not very attractive to most buyers. Number 4, master on the main with the rest of the bedrooms upstairs. These properties typically stay on the market longer than most because it's part of families buying properties. So say you're a family, you're buying property and you have children. A lot of families don't want to be on the one level and have the children on another level. So it shortens the pool or decreases the pool of buyers potentially, and that's going to hurt your resale value. So even if you want a master on the main or you want the main room, the primary suite on the main level, consider a ranch home or consider a master on the main with at least one other secondary bedroom on that main level. And as the children get older, they always can be upstairs, but a lot of parents don't want all of their children upstairs and they're downstairs. So just be mindful of that. Number 5, and I think I'll have a list of 6 things. Number 5 are senior communities. So if you are looking for a senior community, and most of the time they start at about 55 years and older, you want to make sure that you're not going to lock yourself into something, and you may have older children that may come back to live with you, or even grandchildren that may come back to live with you. The covenants in most of these senior communities will allow for someone of a certain age or, younger than 55 and older to stay with you between 30 and 60 days a year, calendar year. Anything more than that is a violation of the covenants. So for example, say you have children in college maybe, or they haven't truly settled into their careers and they may have to come back home. They would only be able to come back home with you between 30 and 60 days. So you want to be mindful of that before you decide on a 55 and older community. Really read those covenants first and make sure you're not going to be locked into something that, where your children may not have somewhere to come home to. And number 6, and this one is really important for my first time home buyers. In most cases, homes that are 10 to 20 years old should have had all major components typically replaced between 10 and 20 years. So if you're looking at homes that are 10 to 20 years old, you want to look and see what has already been replaced. Has the heating and air been replaced? Has the roof been replaced? The water heater? If they have not been replaced, then more than likely, if you're buying a home that, is between that age range, it may be working now, but more than likely pretty soon, you're going to have to replace those components. And so I'm not going to say that you shouldn't buy it, but you should be looking for credits for some of those things if you decide to purchase a home that has everything's original to the home with no replacements in the last 10 to 20 years, because that can be a major expense for you. So in your offer, even if it's working, you want to ask for some credits or, a lot of times sellers are not going to replace a working, air conditioning, a working water heater, but you do want to have some credit so you're ready if one of those components does fail. And when you get your home inspection, the home inspector will tell you that these things are at their end of life. And that should be a red flag for you to say, I need to make sure I have enough money to prepare to replace some of these components. And again, between 10 and 20 years in a home's lifespan, that most of those major components should have been replaced at least once. So just be mindful of that. Now, hope these were helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And I want you to watch this video next. It kind of goes over how you know if you're moving into a good neighborhood.